Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Next-Gen Careers Expert Talk. My name is Cecilia, and I'm the head of content creation, and I'm also the host of these talks here at Next-Gen Careers. So, as I mentioned, I run these talks bi-weekly on LinkedIn and here on Zoom. For everyone to join to learn about careers from real professionals who are working in the fields that you want to learn more about, or maybe even fields that you're already in, but want to network within. So before I introduce today's guest, I would like to give you a short insight into Next-Gen Careers and what it is that we do. So Next-Gen Careers is all about supporting individuals to find success in the future world of work. So we do this by running online and on-site career development programs to support and for you to support your career and for you to launch your career in the future. So if you're looking for ways to gain some work experience, make a plan for your career, or looking for some career coaching, we are here for you. And by the way, everyone, since we're so many here today, it would be great if you feel comfortable to share your LinkedIn profile in the chat, so we all can connect with each other after this conversation. I can start by sharing my profile. Here, let me see. So feel free to connect with me, and everybody who feels comfortable, feel free to share your profiles there so we all can stay connected after this chat, because that's also one of the main reasons why we do these talks, is because we want to bridge the gap within the industries or between different industries. So it's going to be easier for us to all to connect. So thank you. So on to today's guest. As you all are aware that are here today, is that the theme of the talk today is UX design within video games specifically. So today I have invited Marc, who is a major problem solver and experienced creator who started his career actually within international business, but then has slowly made his squiggly way into UX design by doing various online courses, hackathons, boot camps, and all of those kinds of things. And today he's working at Ubisoft, developing the onboarding experience for Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. So we're really excited to have Marc here today to hear more about his career journey, so that we can learn from it. So big welcome to Marc. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you, Cecilia, for having me today here. It's amazing. I'm doing great, and I'm ready to help however I can to people who want to get into the industry or who want to start as a UX designer. So feel free to reach out after the talk as well if any of you have any doubts.
Awesome. Thank you, Marc. So let's start off with talking a little bit about you so we can all get to know you a little bit better, because we're all friends here. So who is Marc, briefly?
So who am I as a person? I actually love all sorts of design, not only UX, and I've always felt drawn to that. That's why I wanted to switch, I guess. And I really like cooking as well. And my way of cooking is actually like super similar to the designing process. That's why I really enjoy it, I think, too. And I love meeting people and talking different languages and traveling. So that's why I also try to go to these networking events once in a while, because it's amazing to meet new people.
That's cool. And I love how you connected cooking to UX design.
Yeah.
Maybe we can dive deeper into that during the talk. That's really, really awesome. And speaking a little bit more about your career per se, like you don't have a design degree per se. So how, like a formal education as such, I guess. So how did you, what has been your journey? Like, let's talk about that. Like how was it moving from business to UX?
So long story short, so the first thing is that UX, the good thing is that it's super multidisciplinary. in the sense that all the people that I meet come from different backgrounds, always like from literature, from programming, or from graphic design, or from business. And the good thing is that UX is usually like a post degree or post specialization in the careers people.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that is that because there are so many products and services in the end, and you need to adapt to each one of them always. And having different backgrounds helps you to be very good at something very specific. For example, graphic design people are super good at more of the UI part instead of the UX usually, because they are very capable in that sense. But the business background, in my sense, has helped me a lot to understand data, consumer behavior, to merge the player and user needs with the business needs, and to have a strong like creative analyst mindset that I say, which is like puzzling all the things in the experience and making great mind maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, gotta love mind maps.
Yeah,
but I think actually what you're mentioning is something that we kind of tend to forget when it comes to careers, that or at least when you're starting your career and you're sort of designing your career when you're young, that, for instance, a business degree can help you work in game design, or like how various, like, and that's really cool that that has supported you.
Yeah, in the end, I think what you gain as an education are tools that you need to know how to use to get where you want to go. And for example, that you can put that together in UX when you're making your portfolios and your stuff like that. That you notice that on the approach that people have when they are creating like the cases and stuff like that. So it's not a specific line, like the career and professional life is always like a wavy line, so you never know in the end.
Yeah, no, and I also like what you said about taking the tools and knowing how to use them, like what you learned during your education, and then adapting that, or yeah, putting that into what you actually want to do. Because in fact, a lot of things can be used for various things.
Exactly, it's like another puzzle.
Yes, which you also love, right?
Yeah.
I heard that you like puzzles.
Yeah, like experience design in the end is like puzzling all the pieces together as well. So like the career path in the end is the same, I think. And that's why you can take on many specializations. Even inside of UX, you have like UX writing, you have information architecture, you have research, you have many different ways. You need to find the one that you feel where you can advance the most and where you feel you would match the best.
Yeah, no, definitely. For sure. So talking a little bit more about your specific job role, and sort of what I understand if we can't go in too deep into details, but like just a general idea of what your day-to-day sort of looks like as a UX designer.
Yeah. So the good thing about games in UX changes a lot from the rest of UX that I've seen, and that's because the cool thing is that you don't only have menus, you also have like the live 3D part of the video game, and it merges with game design as well. So my work starts by working hand in hand with the game designer every day, because she creates like the mechanics of the game and stuff like that, and I just try to see how to fit that into the experience with the signs and feedback of the game and stuff like that, and that's super cool. But answering your question, which is more about the process that I follow, so
yeah,
looking more of the broad picture, so we start not only at my current work, but at other works that I've had. I usually try to start with data and research and see what insights I can gather about the features that are working or are not, or what is lacking and what can we create to make that happen. And then once you find insights on that, you try to start the conception phase, which is the part where you brainstorm on what you can do to solve those issues or solve the problems that the insights are giving you. And once you have ideas and stuff, you start wireframing the ideas to see which ones can work, which ones cannot. You also talk with the players in this case, or the users, to see which of the options you are thinking of could help them the most, and then you try to develop that one. And once you have a reasonable prototype, you speak with, in my case, I speak with a UI art who helped me like develop the graphic part of it. And then after the UI art, we send it to programming, and then we release it. But it's not so linear because many times we iterate in between these steps, but so that you have an idea. So my day-to-day changes a lot according to the phase that I'm at, this like process that I just mentioned. So
yeah. I can imagine. It sounds like a very versatile job, if not.
Yeah, that's what I love about it, actually. I don't really like having a strict routine and, I don't know, opening the same day, the same Excel and doing the same stuff. And that helps a lot with this position as well.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And working at a big company, like, which we will dive into a little bit later, like what it is like working at such a big company. But maybe we can toss the questions around a little bit. So Ubisoft is huge, and I bet that you're not the only UX designer there. But you've also worked with smaller companies in the past. So what has been the biggest difference for you working at different
I think that's a very good question, especially for people who are starting, because it's very different. Like if you work in a small company, you will do a lot of stuff at the same time with the UX position, or you might even do like UX and UI at the same time. And that will help you discover more things and know what you like faster. It's also better in the sense that if the small company succeeds, you will succeed with it because the process will be much faster. So that's this ambitious part is also something to take into account. In the other side, you have big companies where you have a safer position to say somehow. The job that you do is much more specific and narrow, which for me it worked really well because I knew I wanted to do like UX and information architecture and in video games, so it was like super specific. And the bad thing about big companies though is that the bureaucracy is like super big. And when you want to make a decision, another good thing about small companies is that you can make an impact on the product super fast, or the service, or the video game. But in big companies, you have to move a lot of dependencies that you have with other people.
Yeah, that's a great explanation.
It's true that you also have more resources in big companies, like a user lab that helps you do stuff and stuff like that, and you don't have that in smaller companies.
Yeah, and I think also like it doesn't really matter the industry, but it's good to gain experience from both smaller startups or smaller companies as well as bigger companies to understand more about yourself and where you function better and what kind of environments you enjoy working in. So awesome. And talking a little bit about skills, because the future of work or also the current world of work we're living right now is all about developing the correct skill sets for your job rather than having the right degree or the right certificate to land a job. In certain jobs, obviously, those are still very something that you got to have. But as you explained, that UX design is not one of those currently, at least. It's something like, for instance, if you could explain just a little bit about your own journey, how you went from like your journey into UX design.
That's so.
I think we didn't cover that at the beginning. So I think it's something that people need to hear.
So I studied international business, specializing into marketing. Then I worked as a consultant abroad for some time for startups in tech. And that was my first touch point with design, but didn't give it much importance. Then I worked in another position as a marketing assistant in Austria, but I didn't like it very much. And I didn't like it at all actually. And I wanted to change that. And that's when I started to discover things, but I didn't know how to. And I started doing like small courses, like Udemy courses, and which are cheap and easy to discover things. Then I also started watching a lot of reading books and documentaries. And as I knew though that I always liked design, and that's why I was focusing a lot on that part. And then in all this process, I did some programming courses. I discovered more about programming, and which is super tied to UX and UI design.
Yeah.
And then that's how I then watched the documentary, a series of documentaries actually on Netflix. And there was one about product design, and I was like, oh, I really like what this guy is doing. I want to know more about this. And then after watching that documentary, I started speaking on LinkedIn with professionals on the field, and especially in my home country, because it changes a lot on the country you are, how to get into
Yeah.
the industry. Like, and I spoke with the professionals, and they were like, okay, you have the master's option, you have the bootcamp option, you have other courses. And they were like, in Spain, I think the thing that might work better is a bootcamp. And that's when I started to research about it. And I did the bootcamp, then I worked as a freelance, and I also knew since a long time ago, because I'm a gamer, that I wanted to enter there. I wasn't expecting to enter there actually, but I guess after passing the recruitment process, they saw that I really liked it, and I managed to get my foot into the door.
I love this. And I think it's important to talk about that you don't have to take all of those, the linear way, the linear path all the time to explore what you want to do or to find out what you want to do.
Yeah, and most people don't
yeah.
know actually since the beginning. So it's part of discovering it, and you will discover things that you like, things that you don't, and that will help you find the.
Exactly, which is exactly what you did working at as a marketing assistant, and like,
Yeah,
nope,
yeah,
this is not what I want to do.
yeah. Exactly.
Which is as important. It's about trial and error and exploring and discovering new things, for sure.
Yeah, if you don't have any hints of what you like, I think the best way is to just go for something and jump.
Awesome. So rewinding the tape a little bit and moving back to sort of the skill sets
Yep.
that is, employers today want to hear what you can do, not what title you have. So what would you say are some key skill sets that you need in UX design for video games today?
So for video games, like in terms of hard skills, which is like the core ones, I'd say like you need to know like prototyping tools like Figma and Adobe XD and this sort of programs. Also, being able not to create data reports, but understand them and extrapolate from them. Also, well, the typical UX approaches like creating user journeys, creating mind maps. If you are like to work in UX as well, you need to have a very good eye for UI and graphic stuff. You don't need to be able to create that, but you need to be able to know what you want from, like when you are talking to the UI person that you will work with, to know, to be able to tell, okay, I think this is getting in the way of the experience because of that, that, and stuff like that. And also you need, this is not a very usual one, but I think it's important that people understand the business goals too. Because at the end, part of being a UX designer is defending always the user and helping the business align themselves with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to do that as well. And collaboration. Collaboration is key. Like you don't realize how many meetings you'll be doing until you start working, and half of your time of your job is meeting teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's more for the hard part, but for the soft skills, I'd say listening, being super empathetic, because you need to understand how to get in the position of the player or the user. Accepting feedback, because sometimes you have to be willing to destroy a design if you get super bad feedback on a test, and start from scratch and being able to pursue another way, because it, like, there's no other way, and it hurts, but you have to do it. And also like being open-minded, because at the end of the day, accessibility is super important in UX design, and you need to have a mindset to design for everyone if you can. It will be impossible, but you need to keep that approach all the time, especially in UX.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this would be like the hard and soft skills, I guess.
No, that's really good. It's a really good list. And
But
yeah.
adding to there though, that's one of the worst like questions I think that you can get from HR, and you get it a lot actually. Like, what's your top best three qualities or top worst three qualities? And what I want to say here is that, in my opinion, there's like two types of recruiters when you go through processes. One that tries to understand you, and one that shoots you questions like uh, robots. And
Yeah.
I think personally, if you find recruiters that will try to understand you, it's much better to help people be themselves. So sometimes if an interview goes bad, it's not because of you, but also there are other things happening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you've been through a lot of like.
Yeah. I've been through many processes, and it was hard for me
Yeah.
to get a job actually. So I saw
Yeah.
that in the end, I punished myself a lot after those interviews, but I think it's important to be able to say, okay, I've done this wrong. Yeah, that was me. But there was something else that happened that was not about me, and I should not feel so bad about that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up
Yeah.
because it's hard to it's difficult to go through recruitment processes, and you might blame yourself, as I guess you did, but it's not always your fault. It has to be like there's a lot of things that needs to fit in order to,
Exactly.
yeah. um and do not forget the power of networking, guys. Which is I think is like the a key to finding a job, so you might not have to go through such difficult recruitment processes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the future now, before we close this interview. We cannot predict the future. Super like it's hard. Like we can predict it based on what's trending and what's going on right now. So I wanted to like pick your brain a little bit about trends within the field, and what you think, because a lot of the people that are here today are either like maybe new in the field, maybe veterans in the field too, or looking to get into the field. So it would be cool to talk a little bit about the future and what we should keep in mind moving into careers in UX design and gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good question. And actually, for me, one of the most important things for the future is like virtual reality. And I think that's also super important in gaming and in UX in both, because there are still many issues regarding that technology in terms of motion sickness and stuff like that, which uh, get in the middle of the experience.
Motion sickness in VR.
Yeah, because you get
Oh,
so many visual inputs that your brain
of course.
overwhelms, and but it's gonna blow up as well. And I believe that even before this year, but now with the Facebook announcement of Meta and stuff, it's even getting crazier. And I think there's a lot to watch out there, because once someone figures out how to manage to integrate that technology fully, it can be amazing. And especially for video game industry, you will be able to like live in person, like worlds that people create for you to have fun. So that would be amazing. And that was actually one of the dreams that I had since I was a child and I started playing Pokemon games. I imagine myself playing a Pokemon game like in a full virtual reality set, and that would be amazing to see at some point.
I guess Pokemon Go was the first sort of.
Yeah, it was in between augmented reality. That was super cool. And it blew up, so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. Any other trends, or should we close it there?
I mean, apart from
From VR?
virtual reality in video games, there's also a lot of expansion right now in exploring how to integrate machine learning with AIs to have like characters that respond you as if they were real people.
Oh
And
wow.
that's amazing too, because you can if they manage to do it well, you will be able to maintain a conversation with a fake person in a game. So that's super cool too. It's part of the immersion of the game, and that's amazing. And there's also other stuff like blockchain and stuff like that, which help to create more complex systems and also help to protect better the video games and to create better mechanics in the end as well.
That's really cool. So VR, blockchain, and what else did we mention? I tried to make a list, but
machine learning.
Machine learning and AI. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so moving on to the final part of this interview, which is 3 quick questions with 3 quick answers, and then we will let the audience in to ask their questions. So everyone start, pinning down your questions in the chat, or get ready to unmute yourself in about 5 minutes, and you get to ask your questions to Marc live. Okay, so 3 quick questions with 3 quick answers. What good in the world does your job do?
What good in the world does my job do? I think it's actually what I mentioned about accessibility and trying to design for everyone. I think that's super important because there are many small groups of people that need visibility and they don't have it, and that's giving them an opportunity. So I'd say that.
Awesome. What part of your job makes you want to wake up in the morning?
Actually, for me right now, it's working in video games because I think it's super fun and it's a way to integrate narrative with UX design. Like I don't do narrative, but I speak with the people who do narrative, and having these different challenges every day helps me a lot to have a fun working life.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to someone looking to start exploring the field today?
I would say start small and see, like what I did with finding specific small courses or videos or information on what things are like, and then think if they would match with what you're looking for and what you want to do.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marc. I am gonna close the recording here, and we will continue off the recording. But thank you everyone who's been watching us back today, and good luck with exploring the field of UX game design. And make sure to check out Nexgen Careers if you're looking to for support in exploring careers or in career development. And make sure to connect with Marc if you have any questions for him, or connect with me if you have any questions for me. All right.